Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Marco Nanninga. I am the global subject matter expert for ATS Inspect for ATS Global. And during this webinar, I would like to show you something about how you can use ATS Inspect to go paperless for the inspection. If you have any questions, then you can type them in the chat, and we will handle those at the end of the webinar. The presentation that I will be using is a presentation typically for a bit longer of a webinar or presentation. So we'll run through some of the slides quickly, but we will make the presentation available to anybody attending and anybody who signed up to the webinar. So you can browse through the presentation once it's shared with you, and if you have any follow-up questions, then please let us know, and we can have a follow-up session, just a one-to-one. All right. So without further ado, let's get started. So first of all, where we can help you is if we look at the cost of poor quality. There is, of course, a section of direct cost and indirect cost. The iceberg example that the direct cost is something that you can measure, that you can see. There is data for it. The indirect cost is very hard to measure. The complaints, loss of reputation, and even customers choosing to buy a different brand the next time. So where we can help you is with the direct cost. We can make it very easy to see the waste, scrap, and the rework data based on the input into our digital system. This data also will help you in investigating the warranty claims, and that combined hopefully reduces the complaints and the other indirect costs. We have a use case that we can share with you. Toyota has been so kind to share actual production data and allow us to use it, for example, in these kinds of webinars. So they had a challenge for us to also to go to a paperless inspection. They wanted to record every defect, to have actionable KPI reporting. They wanted full traceability. And they wanted, in the end, to improve the straight-through ratio, or the first time right, as it's also called often. And since we got actual data from them, we can share that. We've got a couple of months of data before they started using Inspect. Here they were doing the inspections paper-based, and they were only able to capture 200-300 defects a month, just because on paper it takes too much time to capture all of the defects. So what we can see here is that in May they started implementing Inspect, and already after a month or two they were up to 16,000-20,000 defects that were being captured. So that doesn't mean that they are creating more defects than before, but just that they are now actually able to capture all of the defects in the digital system in ATS Inspect. And what they've done is they've already started making improvements on the assembly process, on the production process, based on the data in Inspect available in the reports, to reduce the number of defects found. And what we can see from there is that whenever the spike goes up again, it means that they were either adding additional digital inspection stations, or they were increasing the intensity of the inspections. For example, asking additional questions, or integrating with a piece of test equipment that wasn't integrated before to get defect data automatically. So what we have here is about 2 years of data of using Inspect. If we continue all the upward trends, it actually goes up to about 35,000. But after less than 2 years, they were down to 3,500. So it says here it's a 70% decrease based on the highest number of 22,000, but it's actually more a 90% decrease in the number of defects per month. It gave them a full paperless inspection system. It gave them the actionable KPI reporting. It gave them the full traceability, and well, we can clearly see that it gave them a better first time right, because we have a based on how you look at the numbers, either a 75 or a 90% decrease in number of defects. So how we do that is we help you define the inspection process. We do that in an admin training for the people in your plants that will actually configure and maintain the system, ATS Inspect. That's the first part of the definition. Then the measurement starts on the shop floor. The operators enter defects, answer questions, enter repair data, and all the data is available in the reports to analyze the data and to find the root causes. We ship the product with about 80 reports to actually use all the data that is being captured by the operators on the shop floor, or by test equipment, or a combination. So using the data from the reports, you can improve the assembly or a production process and the procedures to address the root causes that were found. Then using the same reports, you can control if those improvements actually have the desired effect, if the number of defects goes down. And from there, you can basically go into a continuous improvement loop. You can define additional inspections, as I shared about Toyota, that they either added additional stations or they intensified the inspection. The operators will use that new inspection plan or enhanced inspection plan, and then you can well, go into the continuous improvement loop. The plan, how we use it with actually all of our customers, is that in the beginning we help you with the definition. We train you to use the software, and from that point on, you can actually maintain and define the inspections yourself. So you don't always need somebody from ATS to help you to make the changes, but you are in control of the system. So as I said in this presentation, there are a lot of slides that we will not have time to run through, but this is one where we focus on the actual benefits that we saw from our customer base, from going from paper-based to a digital system. So we have the ability to do checklist and visual inspection functionality. Here we have an example of a visual inspection on the cat valve. Of course, a benefit of doing it in a digital system is that the results are visible right away in the reports. So there is no more delay to get the data from paper to a digital system. We can also, on the operator interface, we can show digital spec sheets, we can show manuals, we can basically show any kind of documents to the operator, and the document can be linked to either the type of product that they are inspecting, but it can also be linked to a specific question that they are answering, a specific defect they are creating, or a repair they are doing. So it could be, for example, a repair manual, it could be a tolerance spec sheet to help the operator to see if something is inside tolerance or not, and any type of document, or even a link to a internet or an intranet website is possible there. We have so since it's all digital, there is no more outdated paper-based data on the shop floor. As soon as a document is updated, then it is also updated in the operator interface. This all combined results in a reduction of resources, a reduction of paper, printing, and storage costs. Of course, because the data is only entered once and not transferred from paper to digital, it means that there is a reduced chance of human error. A reduced chance of losing information, because as soon as an operator enters data in the user interface, the data is stored in the database. in a Microsoft SQL database, and assuming that the database has a good backup plan, then the likeliness of losing data is very, very small. And in the end, of course, what we want to do is reduce our ecological footprint by using less paper. I'll run through a lot of the other business benefits quickly because I want to show you the application as well. Most of these slides are pretty self-explanatory when we share the presentation with you. So here are 3 key points of functionality in the application. One is the ability to enter defects visually, so either on a 2D picture or on a CAD file. The operator can, if it's a CAD file, they can rotate the CAD model. They can go to bookmarks to go to predefined views, click on the area where there is a defect, and we will store the defect with the location information as well. And because we have the location information, it allows us to show a heat map, like for example here, to really quickly see where, in comparison, most of the issues are and you are losing most of the money. The other functionality is the digital checklist functionality, and I think it's better to just show it in the application. That makes it a lot easier to see and understand. So what I am running here is just a example of the operator interface. The interface is completely customizable. For demo purposes, of course, we have added a lot of functionality here, but we'll only cover the basics due to the time that we have available. So what I'll do is I'll load a specific unit. I can either select a unit from a queue, or I can type or scan in the serial number here. So let's say I want to inspect 61952. And it loads the unit. Then I can go to defect entry, where based on the product that is scanned, because Inspect knows based on the serial number what kind of product it is. And we also have some bill of material data already from an external system. I can show that see the bill of material data here. So I can see that it was ordered by a specific customer for a specific location. And I have some option codes here, which I will use to do validation of questions and to show specific inspection data or hide it. So to start with the defect entry, we can do that, as I said, on a 2D image, either a picture or a drawing. And the way that works is the operator can, either with a touchscreen or a mouse, they can click on the screen where there is a defect found. Let's say there's an issue here. Then Inspect knows what kind of defects are applicable to the parts that they've clicked on. What we've done is we've added 3 most common defects or top concerns. They are pinned in a certain order, with the most common as the first one, etc. And from there, everything is in an alphabetical order. And I've mentioned that we can share documents with the operator. If for a specific type of concern there are documents available, it will show as an icon here. When I click on that icon, it shows the documents here as a thumbnail. And when they click on the thumbnail, it will open it full screen in the standard application for that type of document. So let's say that I found a scratch, then I can optionally select the details so that I have some sizing information. I can even make a picture of the defect. So let's do that. I can link to a webcam. Hello, everybody. So good. Then I can say there is an issue there. Let's say there is an issue. I can add some text and store that with the defect in the database. So I can pick a rank. This screen is optional. It depends on the time available to the operator if you want to show this option or not, and of course on the skill as well. The same goes for the responsible area and cell. This is where the person entering the defect can tell the system where he or she thinks the defect was caused in a prior process. So let's say that probably in assembly on trim 2 this was caused. Then they can type in a comment here if you want them. We can optionally ask for a tracking number, a quantity, and a recurring quantity. Quantity would be a time saver. Let's say that I have 3 scratches pretty close to each other, and instead of going through the defect entry process 3 times, I can say 3 here, and then the system knows that it's 1 entry, but it's actually 3 defects. And let's say that you do a batch inspection, and you know for a specific batch that all of the products in that batch have a specific issue. Then you can say that for the next 5 inspections of this type of product, I want to create the exact same defect. And you can store the defect. On a CAD model, it works exactly the same. The only difference is that since it's a CAD model, you can rotate the model around and have everything inside one view and just use bookmarks to go from one view to another. So it's a bit more flexible, and it can be a bit faster as well to the operator. And they can zoom in and say, for example, that there is an issue there. In the middle of that hole, there is a porosity, and I'll save it with all the defects or all the default values. So that's the defect entry part. Then we have the checklist functionality, which is if we look at going paperless, this is the most common way to start. First, going from a paper-based checklist to a digital checklist. Here we can ask a lot of types of questions. We can ask multiple choice, number, text, time, and date type of questions. So for multiple choice, it can be a simple yes, no, as shown here. We can ask for a number here as well. As you can see here, the numbers are in a random order. That is something that we can optionally enable, so that the operator always really has to look where to click instead of knowing that the right answer is always here. Now they really have to see where they click on. We can add images to the answers as well to make it a bit easier to work with. And we can even add, for example, an image of the actual product that they are looking at. So here I'm asking for the type of air filter. Is it a desert option or a standard option? And in this case, the car was ordered with a desert air filter. I am picking standard, and the system tells me it's the wrong part and replace it. So if it's something that I can do actually in line, I can change it. If not, I'll have to say, well, it is the standard one. I'll save the answer, and then a defect will be created automatically in the background so that it will be repaired before the car goes to the end customer. I can ask for dimensional values or dimensional data as well. So here I'm asking for a door hinge torque reading. Let's say that it's 45 Newton meters, which is outside of the reasonable tolerance. It cannot be less than 0 or more than 30. And that's something that has been defined for this question as a reasonable limit. We work with a spec limit and a reasonable limit. So if it's outside of the reasonable limit, it's going to show me a warning that it's expecting a value between a certain minimum and maximum value. And inside that reasonable limit, it will do a specification check. So let's say if I do 25, I will get a message that the torque spec is 12 to 15. So since I'm already over, I can't reduce it and I'll have to save it. If you are under, then you could actually increase the torque and fix it right away. Asking if there is a fin plate. Yes, I can do some traceability capturing here as well. So I can ask the operator to actually scan the serial number of the engine or of the airbag. And I don't have a serial number of an engine in the top of my head. So probably it will tell me it's not correct. I was lucky. That's a correct one. So here, a check, also good. So what we can do there is we can actually check in the background if these serial numbers are actual serial numbers for an engine or an airbag. If those have been inspected, let's say, for example, at incoming goods, then if those products have been inspected before being used in assembly, we can actually link the serial number of the car where we are using these products to the serial number of the supplied part, and that can show in the reporting as well. Then we have a lot of similar inspection data. Something else I would like to show you is the what we call a spec check option. Basically what we do here is we look at the bill of material of the car. So if I go back to the first screen where I can see that for this car it was ordered with the option C for the multimedia. So what we show here is three options, three different options. The operator looks inside the car and has to click on the image as to what they see in the car. So if they click option B, it's the wrong type of radio has been installed, and if I press C, then it goes on to the next one because that is actually what was being ordered. And we can do similar checks on all sorts of questions, where if it's correct, it goes automatically to the next question. If it's the wrong answer, it will show a validation warning, and it will tell the operator that something is wrong and what to do. And this message is completely customizable. So I've been doing a lot of questions. I added a couple of defects on the visual inspection. If I go to the overview, I can see all of the defects that exist on this vehicle. So I have one defect here that was created by answering the air filter question wrong, and one for the hinge that was over tightened. So the issue is that it's a crush. It's been bolted down with a too high of a torque. So what I can do here is I can do a repair action, and I can say I'll actually have to scrap that part and add a new one because it's been over tightened. And besides repairing, if I have the rights as the signed in user, I can also do a confirmation. So at the moment, I'm signed in with a user that has rights to all of the actions, but we can limit the rights to only allow you to do a repair action, or only do a defect entry, or answering checklist, or do confirmation, or any combination of those. So if I do a confirmation, it will confirm that the repair was done correctly, and it will change it from partially filled green to completely green. And we have a couple of minutes left, so I can show you some of the reports as well. Let me go to the reporting portal here and start with the single unit history reports. So I'll use the serial number that we were looking at and load that for single unit history, which is one of the about 80 reports that we have. And I can choose to either show or hide certain data in this report. For now, I will actually add all of it. So I'm looking at some master data. I can see that there are child units based on the serial numbers that I used to answer the question about engine and airbag. Those serial numbers are here. Then I have some lookup data. I can see when inspections were done on this specific serial number, that this was only half a minute, and no actions were done, and that there is one inspection still ongoing, which is correct. I still have the unit open, data collect, and I can see that one defect was created and one repair was done. The defects that were created visually, I can see them here on a thumbnail of the screen where they were added, and I can see the actual defects, all 4 of them here. 3 are unrepaired, And number 4, the one I repaired, we can see that in the gray section, there is all of the information about the defect, all the traceability information. So I can see where the defect was added, on which station, by which user, when, and what the issue was. I can see the repair data in yellow with all the traceability data, and the confirmation data in green with, again, also all the traceability information as to who, what, when, and where. And then for the questions, I have the same information here. I have the actual question, the value. They chose if it was a correct answer or a wrong answer, and when and by who. So besides that, of course, some other data that is really interesting is the actual defect data. So if I look at all of the data for this year, and we have a lot of parameters to filter the data, to, for example, only look at a group of products or a specific product or a specific responsible area, or a specific tracking point, maybe even a specific user. And we can even choose what the data looks like, if it's the defect per 1 or per 100 or 1 in a million. If we want to look at the defect data or the bad units, or if we look at the points, which is based on the rank, on the percentages. So a lot of options to actually change the look and feel of just this one report. So in this case, I'm just looking at the actual defects for a top 10. So I have a lot of out of tolerance data from CM4D. That's one of our other products that we are integrating with. But let's look at the Scratch data. And if I click on Scratch, it drills down to a report where I can see on which products the scratch was found. So I can see that most of them were found on the vendor. If I click on vendor, if there is location data like left and right, I can see that here. So I can see that 17 were on the left-hand side and 2 have no location data, which is odd because a vendor has to be left or right. So that's something that is a bit odd, and I could take a look at, and I can do that by clicking on this number 2, which you can do in any state of that report. And here I have the defect data, and I guess I clicked on the row a bit higher. So here I have the defect number. I have the serial number where the defect was found. Again, the traceability data as to when it was found, what the issue was, what the rank was, and what the quantity was. So I have a couple where there were 4 defects in one entry, and let's say that I'm interested in this one. So I can click on that hyperlink, and that brings me to the single unit history of that specific unit. So I can see what was going on and what happened with those scratches. And we have a lot of reports. Another one that would be nice to show is, for example, the first time quality. And I think then we are running out of time, and we'll have to call it a day. So first time quality, again, a lot of filters to look at specific data. In this case, I'm looking at, let's change that to 1 year of data. It's a custom time period where I can actually set a beginning and an end date. And here I have a first time quality and a first time yield, where I can change the ranks that are included in the first time quality, first time yield. So for the first time yield, I can, for example, say, ignore anything that is above or a finesse issue or accept and acceptable. And hopefully I will see some different numbers. Yeah, I can see some different numbers. So here, the first time yields numbers are a bit higher here than the first time quality. That means that there were some issues found, but they were not bad enough to affect the customer. So the product could be shipped to the customer anyway, but it was still a defect issue. So looking at what was sent to a customer, we are looking at 60-something% here, but the actual quality was only 50-something%. And we have many more, but we are running out of time. I won't take more of your day. Mega, were there any questions? I don't see anything in the chat, but maybe you see it.
I don't see. Do we have any questions? You can also unmute yourself and ask if you want that.
Perfect. So if there are no questions, or if you would like to maybe ask a question via email, that's fine as well. We will share the presentation, as I said, and if you have any questions, just answer to that email, and we will schedule a call or just answer the questions via email. So thank you for your time, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.